for me, you've hit the nail on the head there, coming back to my father with the Midland Bank example. You know, I like the idea of, if I've got a problem, you know, the age I'm at, we were talking about this, you know, off air earlier, I think you and I are probably the last bit of that generation that remember the pressing the flesh, going out and seeing people, because you didn't have mobile phones to hide behind, email to hide behind. You know, if you wanted to sell or you wanted to do business with someone, you have to get off your chair, go to them, sit down and talk to them, and they had to like you and believe you and trust you and feel that you're gonna do right by them. And I think, as much as we've had an influx of huge advantages from the banking industry, i.e. online banking, as we mentioned earlier, some of that personal contact has gone. And you know, I just think, when I'm doing business with someone, I really need to know what it is they want me to do to be able to deliver it.
Yeah, and you know, technology is great. It's not going away. It really does enhance the experience, but it shouldn't replace that face-to-face meeting. You know, from a bank's perspective, I just fail to see how you can get to know a business unless you've met them a number of times, been out to their premises, they come to see you. If you can't eyeball someone, I just don't know how you make the right decision. It has to be that two-way thing.
Otherwise, it's hard to get under the skin of what problems are, or even, I suppose, really part of your role, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, is being as one of those trusted advisors. You have your accountants, your legal people, you know, and I think your banker should be there and say, look, you know, you're currently on this account, it's quite expensive, or you've got a huge surplus of cash. Why don't you talk to your accountant about pension or an investment or an acquisition, or and is that the sort of banking that's fundamental to Handlesbanken in terms of the service they offer?
Absolutely. The phrase within Handlesbanken is, sort of, believe it or not, but is we've got to do what's right for the customer, not what's most profitable for us. And if that means going, you know, move that money to this account because it's a better rate of interest, and you know, we may not make as much money out of that, you know, cynically speaking, but in the long term we'll benefit because that customer's going to, and they'll trust us, and you know, and that's what it's about. It's not about sales; it's about advice. You know, trying to help people do the right thing.
I think if you give out a bit of free advice every now and again, ironically, what goes around comes around. You know, it does come back to you, sort of thing. You know, goodwill, I think, eventually finds its way back. To
and especially in Suffolk, everyone knows everyone else, and you know, no one's. You know, I think it's fairly obvious in the banking sector. You know, it's always the common names that are known. Yeah,
I mean, the banking sector itself, I think rightly so, has come under quite a bit of criticism recently. You know, there have been mistakes made. One of which I think personally is government let them do too much what they wanted to do. Do you think central government needs to get a bit more involved in banking, regulatory wise, and you know, and stuff like that? Because I think they should be hand in glove. You know, I genuinely do.
Absolutely, government needs to ensure there's really stringent regulation. You know, done well, it's invaluable. Not done well, we've perhaps seen a bit of what can happen.
I think it's a balancing act though, because you know, you don't want to be. It's funny. I have this perception when I sit and talk to an IFA. I kind of get the impression that they're more heavily regulated than the guy that looks after all the money in my business account. You know, and you kind of think, well, hang on a minute. You know, I don't have as much money in my personal account as I have in my business account. Yeah, you've got the harder job, and I think, you know, you can regulate for regulates purposes, and I think that balance needs to be struck between allowing banks to do, because you are a business yourself. You're there to, you know, you have to make a profit to keep going. You know, we don't want banks to be relying on bailouts and stuff like that. But so commercially, there needs to be a result in it for you. You know, return on investment and stuff like that. But something that I do find is, I mean, I remember being younger and hearing, you know, in business, this company's been going 20 years, this one's been going 30 years and stuff like that. There aren't so many of them about anymore. And
there are still quite a few about, but probably less. Probably less. But I guess any downturn, recession, whatever you want to call it,
hit or kill someone.
Yeah, it does. But it depends how, you know, it depends who's running that business. Are they running it well? And unfortunately, perhaps the weaker businesses get found out in these times.
But I think it's, you know, I still think there is a reasonable number of Suffolk businesses that have that legacy of history behind you know, and I think I've just got this feeling that if you've got a good relationship with a banking business, you know, that they can see you, help you navigate those difficult times.
Yeah,
you know,
well, that's the idea behind banking. I mean, as you said earlier, yes, you know, the banks are there as a business to make money, and that's, you know, that in itself is fine, but it's how you go about doing that. And yeah, it's advising these businesses, and when they are finding things a bit tough, is giving them that right advice. Whether they act on that is another thing, but all you can do is give the right advice, try and help, try and be a partner, and you know, in conjunction with the accountants, you know, maybe the lawyers, you know, it's in everyone's interest for everyone to do well.
They should be a fundamental team, I think. You know, they certainly are to me. You know, to business owners and stuff. You need to, if you need to talk to someone on the legal side, and chances are it's probably very rare, but it's worth, you know, it's nice to know you've got someone there. Accountants should be taking quite a proactive role in a business. You know, they should really understand their customers rather than, here's all your books, thanks very much, job done, here's your return, here's our invoice, by the way. And I you know, I like the idea of, you know, and sort of banking, the personal touch to banking, because...
Well, otherwise it becomes transactional, and it's, you know, like you say, can you do this? Yes, there you go. And that's it. Certainly we try and focus on that long-term relationship, and I think in Suffolk as well, I think that long-term relationship and loyalty is really common. Something
again we mentioned off air earlier is that, you know, because we'd obviously never met each other until prior to this interview really, so, you know, a few minutes chat, but I think we all make mistakes in working life every now and again, and it's what you do to put it right that makes the difference. And I think Suffolk people are, the Suffolk business, you know, community is less likely to jump ship if you fault at the first hurdle. You know, it's very much a case of what you do to put it right. And what you alluded to then about transactional sales is something I've delivered a lot of training to people, you know, in numerous sectors over the years, saying if you only do transactional business with people, you can expect transactional loyalty.
Absolutely.
However, you build a relationship with someone, they follow you wherever you go. You know, and you'll get that goodwill back, sort of thing. Handlesbanken, obviously, international bank. You know, it's not like we know their history started in London, sort of thing. Are you guys open for international business?
Yeah, absolutely. Although UK history is shorter, we're in 22 countries, and you know, we look after a huge number of UK businesses with subsidiaries around the world. So yeah, all the trade finance type offerings, sort of global online banking services. Yeah, they're used extensively by our client base.
So any company sort of sitting here with offices in Suffolk, you know, sort of sitting there thinking, well, you know, 40% of our business is in Hungary or wherever, sort of thing. You know, you guys wouldn't be frightened trying to deal with someone with transactions.
No. I mean,
international. Yeah.
Say we're a Swedish bank, and you know, it came into the UK actually to help Nordic business with their subsidiaries. So that's where it came from. So it came into the UK purely to help those, so that overseas rationale. And now, you know, we're into the sort of the corporate and personal banking for UK business. We'll just do the same for those guys in whatever country that they're interested in.
Sort of personally for you, I mean, what is your role within Handlesbanken? You know, sort of job title and stuff. You know, what in a nutshell, what do you do? Is it?
I mean, job title. I'm the corporate manager. And my role, very very simply, is to go out, speak to businesses, find out what they want, listen to them. If we can help them, great, and we'll try to do that. You know,
be that old-fashioned banker that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, there's a huge number of times people just want to have a chat. They want to use you as a sounding board, and that's fine as well. You know, we're at the end of a phone, so we don't have this call centre. So there's always, we're the only people in Suffolk that you'll contact for Handlesbanken. So yeah, happy to talk to anybody.
I mean, that in itself is a huge plus for, you know, for the service that the bank offers, is that if I need to talk to you, I can ring up and talk to you. You know, it's not like you go through a call centre in wherever and they put you through and you say, look, can I have the number of the local banking branch? And they say, sorry, you can't have it. You know, things like that can be very frustrating, because usually, you know, I've been in business for years myself, when you need to talk to your bank manager, you really need to talk to them then. It's not, I need to talk to them, but you can get back to me in 3 weeks. It's you've got something quite burning then,
Yeah,
which is why you've taken the trouble to pick the phone up. So I mean, you've got premises in Ipswich, so if someone wants to come in and see you and sit opposite you and have a chat, that's all
absolutely
bread and butter of what you do in day-to-day business sort of thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, sort of, personal developments for the Handlesbanken. I mean, do you guys, you don't sort of specialise in any area? You're, as we said earlier, it's a case of open to, sort of good general business and stuff.
All we're looking for, good quality businesses and people, and that's it. It doesn't matter whether they're a huge business. It doesn't matter if they're a smaller business. Generally, we're here for the SME market on the corporate side, for the good quality businesses that want that long-term relationship. If they want headline grabbing, fantastic deposit rates, that's not really what we're about. It's not a transaction, it's this long-term relationship. It's a service-led offering, it's traditional, may not suit everybody, but I think for a lot of people, I hope
it's
a
different change potentially. Do you guys? I mean, do you do sort of personal banking as well, sort of thing?
I don't. But Di Johnson is our individual banking manager, and again, just looking for good quality people who want that sort of perhaps personal service.
So I mean, a very quick sort of advice to give to people, sort of potentially looking to start a business. I mean, or people for argument's sake, someone that's got an existing business at the moment, that's thinking, maybe I want to change. Maybe maybe it's time for me to change banks, sort of thing. I mean, what sort of advice would you give people, to consider, or even some general business advice?
I think, perhaps for those looking at starting up a business, I'd say surround yourself with a good team. Don't always look at the cheapest option, because cheapest isn't always best.
Get what you pay for,
but make sure you know your market, know what you're actually selling, be it a service or product, and make sure you communicate that really clearly. In terms of other businesses thinking about switching, again, my honest advice would be, do you have to switch? Do you need to switch? Is your relationship broken? Clearly, the easiest thing for me to say would be, everyone come and talk to Handlesbanken, but for those businesses that aren't perhaps getting the help that they want, or the service that they want, then they should really seriously consider having a chat.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, some of the stuff that I've written about in the books that I've written on businesses, are sort of, some of the examples I've given to people is, sit down with your bank manager when he understands what you do. Say to him, well, do you know any of your customers likely to be interested in this? Can you put us into someone? Can you recommend a solicitor? They recommend a solicitor. You go and sit in front of the solicitor and say, well, this is, I make widgets. How many companies do you know that would need widgets? Oversimplifying it. Do you know a good accountant? Him or the bank will refer you on to an accountant. You go and sit down in front of the accountant and you ask her, do you know anyone that needs bells, widgets, whistles, whatever we make? And if you're finding you're getting that type of response from people, and someone's saying, well, and it may not always be the case, it may be, well, I don't, I know someone that might be interested, you then follow up that inquiry and it comes to nothing. These things happen in business, but I think if someone's taking a bit of an interest in your business, if you're going to put your business with them, that's your livelihood.
Absolutely.
You want them firstly to understand it, but if they can give you help that turns into sales, it's stupid not to ask.
And advocacy is what really makes the world go round. It shouldn't be about just advertising, one advert in a paper. You're not going to get long-term quality business from that. But advocacy, and it's not just about, from my perspective, a bank getting referrals into us. Absolutely, if we think we can help someone, so that you guys should go and talk to this person or this business, then we'll absolutely do it.
It's interesting you say that, because as a bank you don't do a lot of marketing, so obviously a lot of your business is coming through the service you're offering and delivering, and word of mouth referrals.
The vast majority is from referrals. We're not a bank really that has people walking in off the street. We're not a big bank. We don't want to be another big UK bank. We just want to look after people who are interested in what we've actually got to offer, which is that long-term service proposition. So if we start advertising all over the place, we're just going to become like everybody else, and that's not really what we want to do. We want from those people that we trust in the local market, so the accountants, the lawyers, the general introducers that we know, if they say to us, Handlesbanken, you should go and talk to these guys, they're really good, then absolutely we're interested.
Okay, that's good. Well, thank you very much for coming in. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and actually to learn about Handlesbanken and sort of be doing everything else.